The supposed collapse of the Indiana Fever wasn't a team failure. It was a harsh reality check exposing deeper structural issues. While mainstream sports media is framing the 15-point preseason loss to the Dallas Wings as a collective breakdown, the box score tells a far more troubling story. Caitlin Clark delivered an efficient 21-point performance against a high-level defense, yet her impact was undermined by questionable coaching decisions, poor rotations, and a roster that lacks both depth and cohesion. Under Stephanie White, the system appeared disjointed, with key players misused and support around Clark failing to materialize when it mattered most. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell's -18 performance highlighted the instability within the lineup, and the bench once again proved unreliable despite off-season optimism. Add in the physical targeting Clark faced, most notably a dangerous play by Alana Smith, and the game becomes less about a simple loss and more about a team struggling with identity, leadership, and internal execution. This 95-80 defeat isn't just a preseason result. It's an early warning sign of organizational dysfunction that can't be ignored.
First quarter against Dallas, 14 points, 4 for 5 from the field, along with 2 assists, ends the first half with 19 points on a 91 true shooting percentage, 2 assists, and 1 steal. 2 3-point made. MVP season loading. Let's take a look at some clips. 291 days since Caitlin Clark played in Gaines Bridgefield. Folks, almost an entire...
The Indiana Fever fell 95-80 to the Dallas Wings in this 2026 preseason matchup. A 15-point loss that looks routine on the surface, but reveals a far more complex story when you isolate Caitlin Clark's performance. In just 16 minutes of action, Clark delivered an exceptionally efficient 21-point outing, shooting 66% overall, going 4 of 6 from the field and 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. She attacked aggressively, used her elite court vision to exploit driving lanes, absorbed heavy contact, and earned 13 free throw attempts, converting 11 with composure. She also added 4 assists and a steal, clearly standing out as the most impactful player on the floor. Clark scored 14 points in the first quarter alone and had 19 by halftime, showcasing both rhythm and confidence, particularly with her three-point shot and free throw consistency. Despite this, her minutes remained limited, and the team struggled to sustain momentum without her presence. At a scoring rate of roughly 1.3 points per minute, extended playing time could have significantly altered the outcome. Instead, the combination of restricted minutes and inconsistent team performance contributed to a loss that raises questions about rotations, depth, and overall execution.
In the third quarter, and we're starting here so I can give my 2 cents to Stephanie White. Stephanie White, after Caitlin Clark comes out on a heater in the first half, comes out on a heater in the first quarter, keeps that momentum going in the second quarter. Sit her down. Why are we going to risk injury? Why are we going to risk health of our superstar?
While Caitlin Clark was dominating offensively and putting constant pressure on the defense of the Dallas Wings, head coach Stephanie White made a puzzling decision that shifted the tone of the game. Rather than riding the momentum or managing the situation conservatively, she stuck rigidly to a preseason rotation despite the circumstances unfolding on the court. This was, after all, a preseason exhibition, one that carries no weight in the standings. By the third quarter, the Indiana Fever were already trailing by a significant margin, and the veteran supporting cast had struggled to keep pace, while Dallas continued to lean on its primary lineup. In that situation, many would argue the priority should shift toward player preservation, especially for a high-usage star like Clark, given the physical intensity and lack of competitive stakes. Instead, Clark was sent back onto the floor for a brief stretch in the third quarter, a decision that raised eyebrows considering the game context. In a matchup that had already become increasingly physical, the risk level was evident, and shortly after returning, she was involved in a hard sequence that resulted in a flagrant foul. The moment underscored the broader concern, balancing competitive instincts with long-term player management. Whether viewed as a commitment to maintaining structure or a misjudgment of game context, the decision highlighted the tension between sticking to a plan and adapting to real-time conditions in a preseason environment.
Shockingly enough, This was called a flagrant foul. Caitlin Clark goes up for three. Alana Smith slides her leg right underneath in her landing zone, and it was called a flagrant foul. But take a look, folks. Caitlin Clark coming up limping, coming up hobbling.
At the 7:51 mark of the third quarter, the game took a tense turn when a physical defensive sequence involving Alana Smith and Caitlin Clark drew serious attention. As Clark rose to take a three-point shot, Smith contested closely, and contact occurred in Clark's landing space, an area the league has emphasized protecting due to the injury risks it poses. Clark came down awkwardly, appearing to tweak her ankle before hitting the floor, creating a moment of real concern given her importance to the Indiana Fever. Situations like these are particularly sensitive because even slight missteps in landing can lead to significant injuries, especially in high-contact moments. While physical defense is part of the game, plays involving a shooter's landing zone are often scrutinized for safety reasons. The incident immediately raised questions about player protection, officiating, and overall game control, especially in a preseason setting where the stakes are low, but the risks remain real. It also highlighted a broader issue for Indiana, how the team responds in such moments, both in terms of on-court composure and maintaining a sense of accountability and protection for key players.
Timpson, tolerated. I don't know if she thinks that her spot's on the line or she's competing for a part in the rotation, but Makayla Timpson has been trying her hardest to put in the work and show that she deserves to be a part of this team. 10 points from Makayla Timpson, 4 for 6 from the free throw line, 2 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block, only 1 personal foul. Makayla Timpson, she should make this roster. Is she going to be a part of the actual rotation? That remains to be seen. Raven Johnson, defensively, a solid.
This brings the focus directly to the deeply concerning box score of the Indiana Fever supporting cast, which paints a stark picture of the gap between Caitlin Clark and the rest of the roster. Sophie Cunningham, a veteran brought in with expectations of toughness and presence, finished with 0 points and did not attempt a single field goal in 14 minutes of action. Her offensive absence was glaring, and she had little visible impact in terms of physical tone setting during key moments, ending the game at -6. The offensive struggles extended further with Kelsey Mitchell, who endured one of the roughest outings of her career, shooting just 4 of 12 for 10 points and finishing with a team-low -18. For a player on a major contract, that level of inefficiency significantly impacted the team's overall rhythm and spacing. Damaris Danis shot 2 of 11 from the field and missed all 8 of her three-point attempts, while Monique Billings went 1 of 5. Nalissa Smith contributed modestly, going 2 of 3, and Chatori Walker-Kimbrough added 3 of 7 shooting. Altogether, excluding Clark, the Fever shot just 17.4% from beyond the arc, a number that makes it extremely difficult to maintain any kind of offensive efficiency, regardless of playmaking quality. Then there's the intriguing case of Raven Johnson. In 21 minutes, she recorded 5 assists and 5 steals, showcasing elite defensive instincts and disruptive perimeter pressure. However, her offensive limitations, scoring just 3 points on 1 of 3 shooting, complicate spacing and offensive flow, while her defense adds clear value. Her current scoring profile presents challenges when paired with a primary ball-dominant creator like Clark. These individual performances collectively highlight a broader issue that has not received enough attention: depth. Without key contributors like Aaliyah Boston and Lexi Hull on the floor, the structure of the team changes dramatically. Boston's screening and interior presence, combined with Hull's perimeter movement and spacing, are critical to maintaining balance. Their absence allows opposing defenses, like that of the Dallas Wings, to collapse into the paint, limit driving lanes, and challenge outside shooters who, on this night, were unable to convert. It's important to acknowledge the preseason context. Players like Mitchell and Cunningham are capable of better performances, and the return of Boston and Hull is expected to stabilize the rotation. Natasha Howard, if active, and other rotation pieces will also influence the team's overall balance. However, the timeline adds urgency. The Fever have just one more preseason game before the regular season begins, and notably, they will face the same Dallas Wings team again on opening night in a nationally televised matchup. That leaves a narrow window for key players to return, build chemistry, and establish functional rotations. From a front office perspective, led by Lynn Dunn, the priority is clear. Health and cohesion must come together quickly. A fully available roster changes the team's offensive geometry, improves spacing, and reduces the burden on Clark to generate everything. If those pieces are in place, the Fever have the potential to be highly competitive. If not, the imbalance seen in this game, strong individual production paired with inconsistent team execution, could persist. Ultimately, the contrast is evident. A fully integrated roster elevates the team's ceiling significantly, while shorthanded and inconsistent rotation risk repeating performances like this 15-point loss.